Stravo shonyo gitere nenente. Oh wait, wrong language, sorry. So Peter Klaus was a goat herder on Kaya whatever mountain, and he always counted them at the end of the day to see if they were alright. And he noticed that one escaped, and he followed him into a slip in the wall, and caught him in a cave feeding scrumptiously upon the grains of oats which fell one by one from the roof. Why do we have Ewoks as sheep? He looked up, shook his head at the shower of oats, and overheard neighing and stomping of some meddlesome horses, and concluded that the oats must have fallen from their mangers. While wondering about the horses, a lad came and made signs to them to follow him silently. Peter ascended some steps and crossed the walled court, went through some thick-leaved branches, and found 12 grave old knights playing at skittles at a well-leveled and fresh plot of grass. Peter silently appointed to set up the 9 pins for them, and eventually sleep overcame him. When he awoke, he found himself once more in the enclosed green space where he tennised his sheep, and could not find the sheep, so he headed down to town. The people he met at the entrance of the town were unknown and spoke completely not that differently. Moreover, they all stared at him when he inquired, no, not like that, about his goats, and began stroking. Wait, are they really stroking their beards? Their beards. And Peter, in great astonishment, realized that his beard is going to be a foot long. He began now to think himself and the world altogether bewitched. Shaking his head, he proceeded from the town straight to his house. He found it sadly fallen to decay. Before it lay a strange herd boy in tattered garments, and near him an old worn-out dog. Which one's the dog? He entered by the opening, which had formerly been closed by a door, but found all within so desolate and empty that he staggered out again like a drunkard, and called his wife and children. No one heard, no voice answered him. Women and children now began to surround Peter, to contend with one another in inquiring what he wanted. He thought it was so ridiculous to make inquiries of strangers before his own house, and so on, and he mentioned his first neighbor, whose name occurred to him as Kurt Stiffen. All were silent, and looked at one another, until an old woman said, "He has lived here these 12 years. He lives in Sachsenberg. You'll hardly get there today." Dear God, that was awful. God help him. He's been confined in these 15 years in a house, which he'll never leave again. Then Peter noticed someone far too familiar.
What is your name?
Maria?
Who is your daddy, and what does he do?
God have mercy on him, Peter Klaus. It is 20 years since we saw him. When the goats came without him, I was only 7 years old.
I am Peter Klaus, and no other.
And he took the baby from his daughter's arms, and they all welcomed him back after 20 years of absence. It kind of ended a bit abrupt, don't you think? You know, wouldn't you think you'd be like, the daughter would be like really pissed at him or something for like abandoning her for 20 years? I mean, hell, if I was the daughter, I probably was kicking his sorry ass.
When the goats came without him, I was only 7 years old.
I am
John C.
and no other.